So, when I sleep at night, I find that I sleep best if there's no light in the room. I really appreciate the darkness, except when I need to get up in the middle of the night. And even though I may know the layout of my bedroom very well, it can be very dark. And I find myself navigating as if I were blind, with my hands outreached, trying to feel for my dresser or the doorway. And I have to admit that I have occasionally not found the dresser or the doorway and walked straight into the wall, much to my chagrin. But I share this image simply because I believe it represents our human condition. Like my stumbling around in the darkness, we are blind to the spiritual reality within and among us. My experience is that I often go through my day perceiving a world filled with challenges and struggles and sorrow, and I do not see the love and the activity and the presence of Spirit. Perceiving a world of difficulty and challenge that often feels against us is, I believe, a self-imposed blindness. One that we do in order to disavow the responsibility that we have for not turning on the light. And when I run into the wall, I get to say with all sincerity, I could not see. And Jesus, our way shower and our brother, is quoted in the Gospel of Thomas as telling the disciples that the kingdom of the Father is spread out upon the earth and people do not see it. We are blind to the love, the activity, and the presence of Spirit. So the healing of our blindness was a core theme of Jesus' ministry on earth. In the Gospel of Luke, Jesus starts his ministry by quoting from the prophet Isaiah. And I want to read what he said. He read and quoted, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he has anointed me to bring good news to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim release to the captives and recovery of sight to the blind, to let the oppressed go free." This was Jesus' purpose statement: to bring good news, to release the captives, to give sight to the blind and freedom to the oppressed. And there are numerous accounts of Jesus giving sight in healing miracles throughout the Gospels. And I want to share one such story from the Gospel of John. This is from John chapter 9, verses 1 through 7. As he, Jesus, walked along, he saw a man blind from birth. His disciples asked him, "Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents?" Jesus answered, "Neither this man nor his parents sinned. He was born blind so that God's works might be revealed in him. As long as I am in the world, I am the light of the world." And when Jesus had said this, he spat on the ground and made mud from the saliva and spread the mud on the man's eyes and said to the man, "Go, wash in the pool of Siloam." And the man went and washed and came back able to see. And I end that reading. So, what does this story mean for us today? Well, if we make this story just about one special holy Son of God that healed a man 2,000 years ago, we miss the point of the story. See, unity understands everything in the Bible through a metaphysical lens, so that every person, place, every story is part of our own spiritual evolution and resides within our own self. So metaphysically, there is in me a part that knows it is connected to God. A part that is willing to share that understanding. That is the Christ Spirit in me. The figure of Jesus in the story. When I am being that Christed self, I become an expression of unconditional love. There is also in me a part that is blind, that has never seen the world that the Christ in me sees. The mud that covers the eyes represents for me everything that separates me from being able to see what the Christ sees. The blindness in me can be healed. I can be changed if I listen and follow the guidance of the Christ Spirit within me. If I do my part, I can remove the blocks from my eyes to love's presence. I can perceive a world that is filled with the love and the activity and the presence of divine Spirit. So, that is for me the message of this healing story. If we are willing to wash away the mud from our eyes, our blindness can be healed. And I believe that our blindness is a self-imposed. It is the fundamental misperception that we all share. So what I'm about now to share with you is my understanding of our blindness and how we can heal. And I encourage you to listen, and listen without needing to see it the same way that I do. That is the strength of unity, the willingness to share understanding and then to say, take what seems right for you and leave the rest. So, I approach this idea of our universal blindness from three different viewpoints. Unity's teachings, my personal work with A Course in Miracles, and the evolutionary unfoldment as used in the integral ministry model. And I'm going to start with the concept of evolutionary unfoldment. Last week, I introduced the idea that the timeline of the universe is an evolutionary unfoldment of love and consciousness. From the very first unfiltered explosion of raw energy that became matter, that turned into complex structures, that became life, and finally evolved into self-reflective consciousness. The universe and everything in it is an ever-evolving expression of love, increasing consciousness. And within this structure of thought, our work becomes fulfilling our evolutionary purpose, which can be described as waking up, growing up, cleaning up, and showing up. And in particular, the cleaning up is the aspect that addresses our blindness. I believe that our call is to clean up our misperceptions, to heal those parts of self that need to be healed. So the class that is going to start later this week, Quantum Living, is a practice to do some of our cleanup work. So my first perspective is the evolutionary cleanup work. Second viewpoint. This viewpoint informs my understanding of healing blindness from my Course in Miracles work. I understand the core principle of the Course material to be saying that we are all parts of one created child of God, the sonship, if you will. And that the collective mind of us entertained a mad idea that we could be separate from God, from our Creator. And having that idea caused great anguish and guilt. And having that guilt caused us to take the distress, and we fled in our consciousness into a dream of this human condition. That is our human experience. We are asleep to our true nature. We are asleep to the reality of our divine oneness with God. And we experience the result of that idea of separation as a dream of constant separation and all the challenges implied by that concept. So one of the aspects of being in a dream of separation is that we misperceive the world. Because of our need to maintain the illusion and try to create a sense of safety for ourselves, we are constantly passing judgment on what our experiences mean, why others do what they do, and what can harm us. By our judgments, we are creating more and more separation. We are creating from that unconscious desire to protect what we misperceive to be real, and thus ourselves. So again, from this viewpoint, we are blind to reality, blind to our true nature, blind to God's constant unconditional love to us. So in the Course concept, we heal our blindness by forgiving the dream. We do not continue to perceive anything done to us as harmful. We see everything as a call for love. We respond by seeing the other as an innocent child of God, and we become love in that circumstance. We wash away the mud of the dream in order to see through the eyes of the Christ to the holiness of our brothers and our sisters. This in the Course is called forgiveness. Forgiving ourselves in the guise of all others for dreaming the dream of separation and then awakening to our oneness with God. Third viewpoint. Third one is I use unity teachings. Both Myrtle and Charles Fillmore, co-founders of Unity, espoused the idea that we need to evolve our consciousness. Charles, in his book, The Mysteries of Genesis, described humankind as falling asleep when spirit embodied into physical form and not waking up. And both he and Myrtle constantly sought growth and deeper understanding throughout their lives. Myrtle often wrote letters encouraging the recipients of those letters to wake up or to do cleanup work. And I want to share what is entitled Purpose of Living from one of Myrtle's letters. It's printed in the book, How to Let God Help You. And this comes from the very first chapter of that book. Myrtle writes, I just want to come in and have a visit with you. Let us forget all that has pressed itself in upon us to make us sometimes feel that God, the good, is not all in all. We know from our experience in unity that there is almost a universal lack of understanding of the truth of being. And when we use the word truth, we mean that which is true of God and true of God's children. This spiritual truth is that you are God's own beloved child, and that God is ever giving you his own wisdom, love, power, life, and substance. In the past, we have been led to believe that we are the children of physical parents, and that we must get our impressions and education from our living habits, and even do our work in the way that they direct. Because of this, we have failed to wake up and to find out that we are really God's children, and that we have inherited from God a perfect mind which is capable of unfolding the wonderful Christ qualities as Jesus Christ unfolded his God-given mind. The real purpose of your life is to express the creation of God, to unfold the many departments of your mind which God has planned for you, and which will enable you to know and do his will. When you know that there is nothing for you to worry about or to fear, you may then relax and feel happy. When you know that living as God has planned it, here and now, is beautiful, and that you can know just what God's plans are for you, you will be really interested in living, won't you? And I end that reading from Myrtle's work. The real purpose of life is to express the creation of God by unfolding the departments of our mind, our spiritual truth. What I hear Myrtle saying is, wash the mud from your eyes, clean up your perceptions, awaken to what you truly are, God's beloved child. You are created as spirit and love. There are no exceptions. So my three viewpoints in life come together, reinforcing one another in this story of healing our blindness. I believe it is the fundamental condition of our human experience, and that we here have a unique opportunity to do this healing work. This community has the safety of like minds and like hearts to wash away the mud from our eyes. So I want to share part of a recent daily word and an affirmation with you. This was last Wednesday's daily word, which began the Lenten season. And it reads in part, today is the beginning of Lent, a powerful time of renewal. I welcome the Lenten season with willingness to shed old ways of thinking. I open to a new life as I shift my focus to life-affirming ideas and a renewed awareness of my oneness with God. I let go of limitations. I release habits that no longer serve me and commit to the revival of my soul. I have the courage to take a deep dive into the still waters of spirit as I welcome a new vision for my life. I give the past no power as I rise above life-inhibiting judgments and resentments, for I am free to begin anew. And I affirm, as I wash away the mud from my eyes, the Christ light renews my soul. So I want to say that affirmation and then have you repeat it with me. As I wash away the mud from my eyes, together, as I wash away the mud from my eyes, the Christ light renews my soul. Together, the Christ light renews my soul. Now let's say it all the way through. As I wash away the mud from my eyes, the Christ light renews my soul. Today, this becomes our truth. Namaste.